Buying the wrong home in Hawaii can turn any living into a money pit, and most buyers don't realize the hidden risks until they've already moved in. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down the 8 types of homes you should never buy in Hawaii, unless you know exactly what to look for. You'll see why some older homes built before the 90s are sitting on termite damage combinations that can collapse during storms, how flood, lava, and hurricane zones can make your insurance costs spike overnight, why certain dream oceanfront or hillside homes can quietly drain your wallet through constant maintenance, erosion risks, or lack of permits. I'm Duc Ong, your local real estate agent here in Hawaii. I help buyers every week find homes that balance island lifestyle with smart long-term value. And today, I'll show you the red flags to avoid so you can buy confidently and protect your investment. Let's start with one of the biggest hidden money traps in Hawaii: flood and tsunami zone risk. Many coastal areas like Hava Beach, Kailua, Lahaina, and Hilo are mapped by FEMA as high-risk flood or tsunami zones, and most buyers don't realize how expensive flood insurance can be. In Hawaii, flood insurance often runs about $800 to $1,500 plus per year, and in higher risk coastal or tsunami zones, it can climb even more depending on elevation. Keep lava zones in mind too. Here are 5 reasons to avoid this type of house. High insurance costs. Flood insurance premiums in Hawaii can be 2 to 3 times the national average. Hidden damage. Frequent saltwater exposure leads to rusted rebar, old growth, and foundation deterioration that may not be obvious during a quick showing. Future resale limitations. As sea levels rise and FEMA updates risk maps, homes in low-lying areas will sharply lose resale appeal. Corroded metal supports or rust on structural hardware, which is an indicator of repeated salt, air, or flood exposure. There's also surprise repair costs after big slower. Here are some inspection tips. Check the FEMA flood zone disposition for the property. Use the Hawaii Flood Hazard Assessment Tool or FEMA maps. Review the home's elevation certificate and see how it compares to required flood elevations. Ask an insurance agent for a written flood insurance quote before making an offer. Look for any flood mitigation features. Does the home have raised foundations, built-in reuse systems, or flood vents? These can reduce risk and insurance costs. A better alternative is to seek homes on higher ground or slightly inland. Next, let's talk about one of the most expensive and unavoidable parts of island homeownership: termites. Hawaii's warm, humid climate is a paradise, not just for people, but also for subterranean and drywood termites. Many older homes, like this one right behind me, have untreated wood framing, exposed beams, or crawl spaces with no chemical barrier, making them easy targets. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Structural damage over time. Termites eat away at load-bearing beams, floor joists, and roof trusses. Hidden infestations. These silent destroyers often do extensive damage behind walls or under the house before you see any outward signs. And there's often no insurance coverage. Homeowners insurance does not cover termite damage in Hawaii because it's considered preventable through maintenance. These are some common issues to watch for: blistered or peeling paint on wooden surfaces, especially near the ground. Hollow sounding wood. If you tap on wooden beams or posts and it sounds papery or hollow, termites may have chewed through the inside. Termite droppings. Look for tiny piles of what looks like sand or coffee grounds near windowsills, baseboards, or in the crawl space. The risk of termite damage can range from a few $1,000s for spot treatment and wood repair to tens of thousands if major structural elements need replacement. Here are some inspection tips. Always get a termite inspection as part of your home inspection contingency. Ask the seller for any termite treatment history. Check if the home's construction uses termite-resistant materials. Some homes use steel framing, masonry, or pressure-treated lumber in critical areas. These all help. Homes built with treated lumber or that have gone through a recent whole home fumigation with a transferable warranty can also offer peace of mind. And no matter what, plan for regular termite prevention in Hawaii. It's just part of owning a home here. Let's cover one of the most common headaches for buyers on Oahu: unpermitted additions. It's not unusual in Hawaii to find a single-family home that mysteriously has a second kitchen, an enclosed lanai turned into a bedroom, or a downstairs ohana unit. that was built without permits. This can spell big trouble for you as a buyer. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Financing issues. Lenders and appraisers hate unpermitted square footage. If part of the home isn't legally permitted, the appraiser usually can't count it in the value. This means your loan might not get approved for the price you offered. Legal and safety risks. Unpermitted structures are technically illegal and could be required to be torn down or brought up to code. Resale and value problems. When you go to sell, you'll face the same issues. Limited pool of buyers who can pay cash or are willing to take the risk. Here are some common signs of unpermitted work. The listing boasts a bonus unit or ohana, but when you check county records, the home is only listed as a 3-bed, 2-bath. Differences in build quality or style. If the seller can't produce permits for that extra living space, assume that it's unpermitted. Here are some inspection tips. Cross-check public records. Verify the bed and bath count and square footage on the county tax records versus what's being advertised. If there's a mismatch, find out why. Ask the seller for permits. Request copies of building permits for any additions or major renovations. Consult your home inspector. Many home inspectors in Hawaii are familiar with unpermitted constructions. The better alternative is to focus on homes that have legal, permitted ohana units or ADUs if you need that extra space or rental potential. Trust me, it's worth it to avoid the monster headache an unpermitted addition can become in Hawaii. Hawaii doesn't get hurricanes often, but we are in the Central Pacific, and when a strong storm comes close, you'll know if your house has a weak roof. Many houses built before the 1990s lack modern hurricane clips or straps that secure the roof to the walls. So, if you buy a house with an old roof, not only might it be near the end of its life, it could also be one big windstorm away from lifting off. Salt air corrosion adds to the problem. Over decades, nails and metal connectors can rust out, especially near the coast, undermining the roof's integrity. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Wind damage risk. Simply put, older roofs without hurricane ties are far more likely to fail in a hurricane or even a severe tropical storm. Hawaii County started requiring hurricane clips around 1994 to 97 for new construction. If the home predates these codes and hasn't been retrofitted, assume it lacks proper straps. If the roof is already old, say 20 plus years, and unreinforced, you'll likely need to replace it soon anyway. A new roof in Hawaii can run $15,000 to $30,000 depending on size and materials. That's a big expense to swallow right after buying a home. Also, insurance companies charge more or even deny coverage for an old roof without proof of clips. Here are some common issues to look for. Curling or missing shingles. If the shingles look curled up at the edges, or if you spot patches where shingles are gone, that roof is near failure. The intense UV and heat in Hawaii can bake shingles quickly if they're not high quality. Rusted flashing or metal. Take a peek in the gutters and at any exposed metal around the roof. Also, see if there are any signs of mold or wood rot up there. Moreover, homes with older, strapless roofs often face higher insurance premiums or requirements to retrofit within a certain time. Check for any roofing permits in the county records. If there's a permit for re-roofing in, say, 2018, that's great. It's a newer roof. If the last permit was 1985 or there's no record, assume the roof is very old. Have your inspector specifically check for hurricane straps or clips. Get an insurance quote during escrow. It's better to know that before you commit. A better alternative is to target homes that already have newer roofs, say less than 10 years old, and documented hurricane straps in place. Oceanfront or hillside homes without erosion control. I'm here on Waimau Road, and it's an area that has had a lot of erosion and soil movements in the past. On the oceanfront side, Hawaii's beaches and coastlines are naturally shifting. We have seasonal surf that pulls sand away, occasional king tides, and the long-term issue of sea level rise. Without a seawall or approved erosion mitigation, big waves or high tides can undercut foundations. On the hillside, such as areas like Palolo, heavy rains can trigger slope erosion or even landslides if the slope isn't stabilized. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Erosion damage. Simply put, a home without erosion control in a risky location is a ticking time bomb. You might not see damage in the first year or two, but over 5, 10, 20 years, you can have a serious problem. Oceanfront yards can shrink as the shoreline erodes. Those side foundations can crack as the ground shifts. Permit and regulatory hurdles. In Hawaii, you can't just decide to pour a new seawall or carve into a hill to add retaining walls without permits. In fact, there's been a trend of tightening regulations on shoreline hardening. Same with hillsides. You usually need soil reports, approvals, etc. Some common issues in at-risk properties include cracks in the foundation or walls. If you notice horizontal cracks along the foundation or splits in retaining walls, that could indicate the ground is moving. Loss of land. Ask the neighbors or the seller about historical shoreline. Have they lost any yard to the sea in recent years? On a cliffside, is there falling debris downslope or obvious erosion gullies on the line? On a hillside, see if there are proper drainage ditches, culverts, or terrace. If you just see a slope and no clear way water is managed, heavy rain probably turns that lot into a mudslide waiting to happen. Here are some inspection tips. For oceanfront homes, consider getting a shoreline survey or coastal engineer's report. They can tell you how far the setback is supposed to be and if the lot has a history of erosion. Look at neighboring properties. If you see the neighbors have big seawalls or recently had to jack up and move their house inland, take that as a cautionary tale. For hillside homes, a geotechnical engineer can assess slope stability. This is above and beyond a normal home inspection, but worth it for high-risk locations. A better alternative for most folks is to enjoy those ocean or mountain views from a bit safer distance. A house 1 or 2 blocks inland from the beach or set back from a steep drop-off can still give you that Hawaii charm without as much risk. Condos or HOA communities with weak financials or restrictive rules. If you're eyeing condos in Honolulu or a home within a planned community with a homeowners association, you have to remember, you're not just buying the unit or house, you're buying into the association that runs the place. In Hawaii, we have some condos and townhome complexes that are fantastic, well managed, solid reserves, reasonable rules. But we also have some that are, frankly, ticking time bombs of special assessments and inflexible regulations. I want you to avoid the latter. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Weak reserves and deferred maintenance. Some condo HOA boards keep monthly fees low to please owners, but behind the scenes, they haven't been saving enough for big repairs. If the reserve fund is underfunded, guess what happens when the roof or elevators need replacement? They hit all owners with a special assessment of $10K, $20K, maybe even more per unit. Poor governance. A dysfunctional or non-transparent board can make life miserable. Think boards that delay necessary maintenance, leading to bigger problems later, or that mismanage funds. If you buy into such a place, your property value and quality of life can really suffer. Overly restrictive rules. This is a bit different, but still important. Some HOAs have super strict rules, like no solar panels, no renting out your units, or minimum 6-month rentals only. Even rules about what color you can paint your door. Some common issues to research are low HOA fees with old amenities. So, super low fees are not always good. They could spell trouble later. Recent special assessments or meetings. Ask if there have been any recent or upcoming special assessments. Also, read the last year of meeting minutes. These should be provided in the condo docs during escrow. If you see a lot of infighting or mentions of we need to fix X, but we'll defer due to budget, that's a red flag. Here are some tips for due diligence on communities. Read the condo docs. In escrow, you'll get hundreds of pages. House rules, bylaws, financials. Don't just shove it aside. Read the house rules to see if there's anything that would personally drive you crazy. Most importantly, examine the budget and reserve study. If possible, strike up a friendly chat with a resident or two, maybe when you're in the elevator or out front. Ask them, how do you like living here? How's the management? People often will candidly share if there have been big issues or if the board is reasonable. Overall, aim for well-managed communities with transparent finances and balanced rules. A place with slightly higher monthly fees but a strong reserve fund is actually a good thing. It means they're planning ahead and you're less likely to get a surprise $30,000 bill. And make sure the community's vibe and rules align with your lifestyle. Choosing the right condo or HOA can make your Hawaii home experience a dream, not a nightmare. Older single homes without upgrades. Here's something unique to Hawaii with classic plantation-style single-wall home like this one behind me. If you're not familiar, these are houses constructed with no cavity between interior and exterior walls. No insulation, no drywall. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Heat, humidity, and noise. Single-wall homes have no insulation by default. That means on a hot Hawaiian day, the interior can get toasty, and you'll feel it. Some common issues in unmodified single-wall homes include mold and moisture. This can lead to mold spots on the interior surfaces of the exterior walls. Single-wall construction also means there might be gaps or easier paths for bugs to get in, like where the walls meet the floor. If the home has original single-wall and hasn't been tented recently, assume termites have dined there at some point. Old electrical and plumbing. Often you'll find original or antiquated systems because updating it is harder since there are no wall cavities to run wires. Warping and settling. The walls themselves, being just boards, can warp over decades. Also, these post foundations can settle unevenly, leading to sloping floors or doors out of square. If you ignore the issues, you might live with higher electric bills from running AC or dehumidifiers to combat heat and mold, and constant minor fixes. Now here are some inspection tips. Check for upgrades. Ask if any renovations have been done to double wall any parts of the house. If you have plans to extend or remodel, run it by a contractor during your inspection period. Hey, I'm thinking of want to eventually enclose this patio or add a bedroom. They can give insight if the single wall structure can handle it or if you need to basically build a new support. This will help you gauge future costs. For better alternatives, you might consider homes built in the 90s or later, which is when double walls became pretty standard in Hawaii. If you do go for a single wall charmer, just go in with eyes open. Budget for higher utilities and ongoing maintenance, and consider investing in improvements like insulation, window upgrades, or at least a good dehumidifier and fans to keep air moving. Now let's talk about something that's easy to overlook, but super important in Hawaii's climate: airflow and ventilation. Island homes need to breathe to stay dry and cool. If a house was poorly designed for our environment, meaning it has bad airflow, traps heat, or doesn't handle moisture well, you could be in for a lot of mold, rot, and high electric bills. Hawaii is humid, especially in certain areas or during the wetter season. Many older homes were wisely built with lots of windows, high ceilings, and vents to take advantage of that. But some homes, old and new, just missed the mark. Maybe they were built in a spot with no breeze, or the architect didn't include enough windows or vents, or there have been modifications that accidentally block airflow, like a big extension that cuts off wind to part of the house. Similarly, if the property doesn't have good drainage, you get water pooling, which raises the moisture levels under and around the house. That's a recipe for problems. Here are a few reasons to avoid this type of house. Mold and mildew. Poor ventilation means moist air stays trapped inside. In Hawaii, you'll often see it first in the bathroom, peeling paint or black spots on the ceiling, or behind furniture. High energy bills. If a house is naturally hot and stuffy, you're going to be running the AC or dehumidifiers a lot. That's costly because electric rates in Hawaii are among the highest in the nation. Over years, that's thousands of extra dollars. Corrosion and deterioration. Humidity doesn't just affect comfort, it also can corrode electronics, rust fixtures, and cause wood to swell. Here are some common signs of poor airflow or moisture issues. Stuffy or musty smell. When you walk in, does the air feel fresh or a bit stale? Few windows or one-sided ventilation. Check the layout. Are the windows only on one side of the room so air can't flow through? If the design doesn't allow air to move, that room will be a problem. And on the roof, is there ridge vents or any attic fans? A hot attic can radiate heat downward. If the attic isn't vented, the whole house heats up more and stays humid. Standing water or drainage problems. Walk around the yard after a rain. Does water pond near the foundation? Are gutters leaking or non-existent, so water just soaks the perimeter? Here are some inspection tips. Do a comfort test. When you view the home, especially if it's a humid day, note how it feels. Open windows if possible. Do you get a breeze? If it's sweltering and stagnant inside, while outside there's a breeze, something's off with how air moves through the house. Look for venting systems. Does the kitchen have a functioning range hood that vents out? Bathrooms have exhaust fans? These remove moisture at the source, such as cooking and showers. If they're absent, that moisture is just lingering in the house. Inspect around AC vents or dehumidifiers. If the owner has multiple dehumidifiers running, that might be a sign the house needs them. Assess the landscaping. The ground around the house should slope away, not toward the foundation. If it's flat or sloping in, that's bad. Also, are there plants or junk piled against the house? That can trap moisture. Ideally, you want a border around the house that's clear and allows airflow underneath if it's raised. Or a better alternative, look for homes that embrace the elements rather than fight them. Homes with a raised foundation often get air circulating underneath, which keeps the floors dry. High ceilings with vented skylights or jalousie windows placed strategically can draw hot air out. Open floor plan can help breezes flow from room to room. In Hawaii, some of the most comfortable houses are the ones that were smart about orientation. The long sides of the house catch the trade winds, windows aligned to create cross breeze, big overhangs so you can have windows open when it's raining. Even if you plan to use AC, a well-ventilated design will make that AC work much more efficiently. Here's the bottom line. You want a house that works with Hawaii's climate, not one you have to constantly dehumidify and cool because it's fighting the climate. It will save your wallet and make island living much more pleasant. As you've seen, buying a home in Hawaii isn't just about palm trees and ocean views. It's about avoiding the traps that can quietly drain your savings, from flood zones and termites to weak HOAs, erosion, and ventilation problems. The key in Hawaii is understanding the island's environment. Salt, humidity, and weather exposure all amplify maintenance costs compared to the mainland. I am Duc Ong, your Hawaii real estate expert. I help buyers every week spot these risks early and find homes that truly hold up to island life. So, before you buy, reach out and schedule a quick consultation. Let's make sure your next Hawaii home is one you'll love for decades, not one you'll spend years fixing. Stay safe, do your homework, and let's find you the right home in paradise. And if you're not quite ready, check out my 30-page Oahu relocation guide. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.